Lesson 6. We finished the yamas, and now we have 5 niyamas. Remember, yama and niyama are the first 2 steps of the eightfolded path. It's not just the subject, it is one of the 8 links of yoga, so which means there is some significance in understanding what this is about. It lays, in fact, the foundation for your development. Niyama, although it seems like fairly the same as yama, the nature of niyama is different though. Because with yama, you refuse. All those 5 yamas are about refusing to act upon lower emotions and desires, instincts, which they are not bad. I try to bring that message home. They are part of our natural human functioning, but they're also responsible for all our suffering. By refusing to participate in violence, lying, stealing, unchaste behavior, and desire, we reduce considerably our normal daily suffering. Why is this important? Because it is a luxury to suffer less? No, it has a very practical reason. To suffer less as a pleasant aspect is a side effect. But the practical reason for trying to observe these principles is to reduce distractions so that we can develop sound meditation. We have talked about sattva, harmony, and the non-existence of sattva in most people's daily lives. Observing yama, refusing to go along with those 5 instinctive behaviors, naturally leads to more sattva. Niyama is not a refusal, on the contrary. Niyama are kinds of behaviors that we try to adopt. So yama is defensive. We refuse. Niyama, we actively engage, we actively introduce into our life. The first of these is Shaucha. Shaucha is purity. Now, many yoga teachers, when they discuss a subject like Shaucha, they limit the subject to physical hygiene. So before you do your yoga practice, you have to have a ritual to bathe yourself, to brush your teeth. There is nothing wrong with that. But if we limit it to that, the subject is finished in 5 minutes. So in most of those courses where you learn about yama and niyama, all the yamas and niyamas are dealt with in one class. Non-violence means don't kill your neighbor. Non-stealing, don't lie to your parents and your teachers. Don't steal, etc. Very simple, very simplified. You know already that it's much more than that, and that it's in fact a psychological thing that we are looking at here with a very profound impact in the way that we experience life after understanding these subjects. Shaucha, purity, apart from the hygiene aspect, is about principle. It's about being committed. Now, if you have felt a little bit between the lines, the stories that I tell you, you can feel that I'm committed to certain things. But I also don't care about many other things. So I'm very principled. I do not care for superficial things, things that are not close to my heart, etc. But when something comes close, it becomes my responsibility. And I take that responsibility. Like with the dogs, people say I'm crazy. I was kind of crazy because I didn't even have an income. I quit teaching. I didn't even have an income. I just didn't even know. I thought, I'm done with yoga. I'm done with everything. I'm done with Korea. I'm done. I had a little bit of a burnout at that time, and maybe a midlife crisis, whatever. But I didn't know anything about my future. And there's this dog. And while normal people say, no, not now, this is the worst moment, it was my rescue. It opened my heart again. It made me inspired again. And when they settled down, the telephone rang. Hey, Ron, I'm talking with somebody here, and they have a yoga studio in Yoido, and would you be interested in teaching your Saturday, Sunday class there? Then I said, well, see, it happened again. When the time is right, the telephone rings, and there is something to help you move forward. Purity is to be principled, to be committed. If you feel attracted to something, pursue it. And do not compromise. Do not walk away for challenges. Do not walk away for obstacles. Because that is a human characteristic, is we want things to be smooth and without difficulties. That is ideal. So we have a tendency, when there is a little bump in the road, to walk away from it if we even can. We know that these bumps in the roads are designed for us to be there. They make us do several different kinds of things. They teach us about our abilities. Sometimes we discover abilities we didn't even know existed. We admire other people for the wonderful characteristics and abilities they have, and we don't even see our own. Those obstacles teach us that we have special abilities too. But life is about earning things. If you want progress, if you want to fulfill your wishes, your ambitions, the universe tests you. It's all about attitude. So, put your foot down. When you say you're going to do something, stick to it. Do not just suddenly drop it because it became a little bit difficult. Because then you'll never get anywhere in life. That is an aspect of Shaucha, an important aspect. Grow a spine. You know what that means? Grow a spine? Keep your back straight. Do not go with the wind wherever the wind blows. Which means, well, today I say, I believe in this, but tomorrow it seems more convenient if I say that I believe in that. You want to have examples? Watch the news. You see so many impure people, especially in politics. And because of modern technology, everything is is everything is on video, everything is recorded. So some of the TV channels, the news channels, they will show a politician who today says, well, but it should be like this, and I believe strongly that it must be like that. Then they dig up some video clip from their archives that shows that 5 years ago they said exactly the opposite. And they don't even care. Shameless they are. That is impure. And how do you feel about those people? That is important, because that is how people feel about you if you are unprincipled. How do you feel about those people? You want to vomit. Blech. It's ugly, it's dirty, and it's people that determine your life. They are in charge of the government. Now, why? This is the maybe most important question. Why do people do that? It's the same story as with the yamas. They do that for short-term gain. Opportunism. By the way, there's nothing wrong with opportunism as long as it's right, as long as it's pure, it's correct. But lying, stealing, violence, or calling for violence, just because it seems the opportune thing to do for short-term gain, that is very impure. And people recognize what you do. They lose faith in you. They lose respect for you. There are ignorant people. You have seen that. They keep worshipping the person with the biggest lies, the biggest theft and violence and what have you, incest behavior, violating all the yamas. There are people who simply not at that level of consciousness yet that they actually see that. They see the lies and they take them for truth. But people like you and me, we see that. And people that matter, they will turn away from you if you have no principles, if you have no straight back, if they don't know what you will say tomorrow in spite of what you said today. Because today you promised this and tomorrow you just break it. And you don't even feel bad about it. That is purity. Purity also very much applies to yourself. If you look at the path that I followed, it seems like it was all so tiresome and so difficult. But I'm very happy because I stuck to what I felt I needed to do. People told me. People kind of pushed me not to be pure to myself, saying, hey, what the hell are you doing? Why you just get a job, man, a normal job, and you know, climb the ladder of your career, and you can buy a house and you start a family and just be happy. And I said, but that I already know that is not going to make me happy. I will just end up with a big beer belly watching soccer every night or whatever, UFC, and end up with a big hole in my heart like everybody else. Maybe financially comfortable, materially comfortable, but with a big hole in my heart. Being pure means to stick to your choice, whatever that is. Also, regardless of what other people think about it or say about it. Why do we end up behaving in an inconsequent way, inconsistent way, short-term gain, without being able to see the long-term, which always turns against you sooner or later, or just for love of ease? Is that the right expression? For love of ease, we don't want to do the effort to keep the back straight, to be principled, and overcome the obstacles and challenges that we inevitably come across as a result of our choices. It's much easier to just stick with your job, climb the ladder of your career. Every year you get a salary raise, a promotion. You can buy a house with a mortgage, go to the bank, get a mortgage. You can buy a Porsche. But is that it? That's very unfulfilling. For most people, there is no option because that's all they know. Because that's how we were trained. Since we were born, we were educated like that. Our parents taught us like that. The government indoctrinates us to live like that for their benefit. So it's very human that we find it difficult. But we know, if you want to follow the spiritual path, you want to find peace in your life, especially with yourself, we have to do some challenging, sometimes difficult things for that. But now that we know that challenging and difficult things actually reinforce us, empower us, make us stronger and wiser, we stopped looking at those things in life as unwanted, something to be avoided. Part of purity is also, I referred to this last week, I'm pretty sure I did, to just be yourself. Did I tell you something about just being yourself? Not yet? Okay, let me tell you an anecdote. It's very much about purity. I already told you as a teenager I was kind of in a dark hole, a little bit lost, like many teenagers. Maybe I was a little bit extreme. But it became so desperate that I asked myself, I knew I had to do something. I knew I was contemplating suicide, but I came to the conclusion I'm a coward. I'm not capable of committing suicide. So I needed to do something. And in a clear moment, I asked myself, okay, you don't want to be like this, depressed, dark, unhappy, disconnected. So what do you want? I asked myself, what do you want? And the answer was very refreshingly simple. I didn't want a Porsche. The answer was, I just want to be happy again. So the next question, inevitably, of course, was, how do you do that? And I realized that when I was a child, innocent, naive, playful, spontaneous, that was the happiest time of my life. And around the age of 12, 13, when my parents divorced, I lost that innocence, I lost that happiness. Just simple, basic happiness with nothing, just being. And that's what I wanted back. So the question was, how do you do that? And I realized I had lost myself. I had lost that child. So the answer to that question was also very simple. How can you be happy again? Simply be yourself again. Like you were as that innocent, naive child. And ever since then, I was around 15, 16 years old when I had that conversation with myself. That is exactly what I've tried to pursue. Realizing later that that is a matter of purity, Shaucha. So you don't pretend to be anything. You don't play games anymore or identify with heroes or TV stars or rock stars. No, just purely yourself. That is also an aspect of purity. Do not act, do not play act, do not pretend. Just be what you are, whatever that is. Sounds strange, yeah? But this is the path to spirituality. Because the result of pursuing to just be who you are leads to soul connection, which at that time I didn't understand. All I wanted was to be happy again. But later, studying about yoga and many, many years of practice and contemplation on the issue made me realize that that is the spiritual path. And for me, it probably started there. At the age of 16, 15, 16, I was already destined to find that book 5 years later and start practicing every day. It leads you to reconnect. We live in a society where the word disconnect is used very often. We are disconnected from nature. We are disconnected from humanity. But we are disconnected from ourselves, most importantly, without knowing it, because we don't know an alternative. When you start simply being yourself, that alternative naturally comes. With that, you will come across something that you feel attracted to. There is a vibration that is in line with your vibration, on your wavelength. That is how you meet very interesting people. That is how you meet a dog on the riverside that you never thought you would have again. That is how you move to another country and stay there for a long time. Following what you feel, not what other people tell you to feel, not what society dictates you to feel. Again, we live in a very challenging time because of the enormous input that we get through the media, through novels, through TV, through the internet. If you read the handout, you see that I wrote somewhere that novels are impure. They even can lead to schizophrenia. Now that is shocking. Schizophrenia is a mental disease. What do I mean by that? When I started practicing yoga, I'm telling you a lot of personal stories already at the beginning of the course. But it's an interesting anecdote that will show you schizophrenia. When I started practicing yoga and came back to myself again, being myself, wanting to be, I automatically came back to the girl that I fell foolishly in love with when I was 12 years old. Putsaran, Hangumallo. How do you say that in English? In Dutch we call it calf love. Puppy love. In English, puppy love. Just innocent, you know? Innocent love. You just totally fall in love. Like I now start to see the thread in my life. Falling in love with Hapkido, with yoga, with dogs, and with that girl. So anyway, I contacted her and we were going to meet. We had, for a while, we exchanged letters, handwritten, because internet didn't exist yet and WhatsApp also didn't exist yet. So we met and we went to the coast, the North Sea coast, and we walked on the beach in the evening, and suddenly she collapsed. And I was standing there and I thought, oh my God, what am I supposed to do now? What is happening? And I just didn't know what to do. Later she told me, "You fool, this is what people do. I collapse and you should come sit next to me and hold me and kiss me. That is the start of, you know." So, oh gosh. She said, "But that is how it happens in the romantic stories." Then I found out that she had a whole collection of these flimsy, it's not books, it's like magazines, but containing romantic stories. And she played that story that she was reading in her teenage years, and she expected me to be the prince on the white horse, but I was disconnected from that kind of world because I didn't watch TV and I didn't read those kind of novels. I was just myself. I thought, what the hell is happening here? That relation obviously went nowhere, caused a lot of misery, but it was a necessary stage. I was totally green and inexperienced, and I had to learn through failure and misery. But that is schizophrenic. Schizophrenic is living outside the reality. She was outside. Her reality came from a romantic novel. There's an extreme example, but the media has a huge influence. I told you last week or the week before that one of my youth idols was Bruce Lee. Many boys, young boys, look up to Bruce Lee. That guy has an aura, has a charisma, straight back, doesn't allow injustice, etc. Stands up for the weak. Many modern martial artists, when they are interviewed, they indicate that they were inspired by Bruce Lee. I was like that too when I was a teenager. But I didn't continue to live that image, you know. You let it go. If you continue to live it, like my girlfriend continued to live the romantic image that she was infused with from those romantic stories, you become disconnected from yourself. You start living in reality, unreality, but that is an issue that, because of the huge influence of the media, including books, many people unknowingly are dealing with. Remember, I told you another extreme story about the girl whose father wanted her to be Korea's national representative in skiing. He wanted her to be an Olympic star. And I gave you the opposite picture when, after yoga class, she would go to the locker room, change her clothes, put her school bag on her shoulders, and a total transformation. She would run to school with a big smile on her face and so enthusiastic, so totally different, opposite. It is very important that, in light of the subjects that we discuss, and in light of Shaucha purity, that we start paying attention to those things that do make us feel inspired, enthusiastic, happy. You know why? Because everything is energy. And the little girl, or actually she was quite tall for her age, but the young girl that was forced to come to the yoga class, her spirit was dead. Her energy collapsed, literally. and she totally hated yoga, her life, her father, everything. But the moment she prepared to go to school, that energy totally reversed. And that energy was here, in the crown chakra. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point she gave her father a kick in the butt and say, I'm going to become an elementary school teacher. I want to be a teacher, because that is what I really love to do. I hope that she did that. Otherwise, she's now in her early 20s. She will be very, very unhappy if her father kept control over her destiny. Purity means that we start paying attention to what makes us dark, energy drop down, and what makes us feel spirited, literally spirited, because that means there is energy here. You feel that. There is some word for it, some resonance. I cannot try to look it up, find it. But there's some sympathetic resonance that connects with us, and we need to pay more and more attention to that. Because you think yoga is about asana, the meditation, and Om, and energy control, but that is energy controlling daily life. If you feel that something darkens you, depresses you, that means it's not for you. The way that I tell you this, it sounds very obvious and maybe even very easy. It is not. Because life is full of conditioning. But also expectations. Expectations from parents. Expectations from other family members. Sense of duty. Feeling that we are stuck. When you talk with people on a little bit more personal level, you will often come across these kind of dilemmas that people are dealing with. They don't want to be where they are, but they feel they have to because family, because, or even in a job. I have to because I have to pay my bills, I have to pay the rent, I have to pay the mortgage, what have you. Try to integrate that into your life gradually. You will see that the Hatha Yoga Pradipika will tell you about gradually many times. There is even a sentence where the word gradual appears 3 times in one sentence. Don't be a radical. If you, based on what I'm telling you today, you realize, this applies to me. Actually, I've been in this job for a couple of years and actually it doesn't make me really happy. And every morning when the alarm clock goes, I hate that clock because it means I have to prepare and go to work again, and I just, go through the motions, and I get on the bus and the subway and look around and you will see that most people are like that. They are like the girl that had to be in the yoga class and while she didn't want to be there. Many people go to the office while they don't want to be there. Don't quit tomorrow just because your yoga teacher said you have to follow your feeling. Because then you create a disaster for yourself. You will get kicked out of your house by the landlord or the bank. And if you're a foreigner with a visa, working visa, and it happened actually with one of our students in the past, after a couple of weeks, if you quit your job tomorrow, after a couple of weeks, you have to leave the country or you're being deported. Because your visa will expire if you don't keep working at that place where you got the visa for. So, gradual. Start planning. Remember, it took me 9 years to come here. Planning, prepare, and then slowly transform. Slowly introduce change. If you're impatient, and I have been impatient many times, just remember, you have a lifetime. depending on your age, you have 40, 50, 60 years left to do just that. Why do you need to do it in 1 day, 1 week, or 1 month? Life is really about that. It's not about all the superficial things. It's really about finding your dharma, finding your own destiny. It's funny because the biggest fear people have is the fear to die. Why do you think people are so scared of death? Why? Because people feel they still have so much to do in life. But why? Because people are busy doing things that they don't want to do, and they think someday I will find out what it really is what I want to do, maybe after my retirement, and then I will focus on that. When you follow your heart, you create your own path with time. It's going to take time, like it took 30, 40 years for me also. But you will come to a point that you're not scared of death anymore. You know why? Because you found your destiny. You are on the path of your destiny. And it makes you happy every day. Also on days that you are in trouble. Also in periods where you are in deep distress. Because your business failed, or because your partner left you. I've had those kind of things happen. And yet, knowing to be on the path where you want to be still fills you with fulfillment, with happiness. And I have said to my students, if I die tomorrow, it would be okay. Because I did what I wanted to do. And I brought it so far. If I can live longer, I can maybe continue, but it's fine. It's fine. I don't have a bucket list of 100 things that I need to do before I die. Can you kind of follow that? Some people will think, you're crazy. Of course I don't want to die tomorrow. It's stupid. But if it's meant to be, it's fine. It's fine. I won't resist. I won't. Until then, I will do my best. That's also purity. Put your whole, we say heart and soul, put your heart and soul into it. You understand what that means? If you hate something, you'll never be able to put your heart and soul into something. What does that have to do with yoga again? It's the same story. It's about energy. I'm 57 years old. Compare me with other men my age, and you see a huge difference. Because other men my age, they are really my age. They're gray, they're dark, they're listless, lustless. They're just what they are, old. I'm still full of fire and enthusiasm and passion and compassion. It's energy. You get old when you stop doing what you love to do. And you see many young people that are already in that stage where they're kind of like zombies. I'm not being judgmental. I want you to start observing and start to see it. Because yoga is about energy. And people's life, people's health and well-being, and in the long term even your wealth, is all related to energy. Purity means to follow up on that. When you feel good about something, it invigorates you. It fires you up. But with obligations, or the way that we are conditioned to dutifully take care of our family, to go to work, all the things that we are trained to do, but kill our spirit and depress our energy, it has a huge influence on our well-being. I'm not judgmental or negative in any way. I want you to see what this is about, because it will make a huge difference in your life. And this is what yoga really is about. Feed higher consciousness. That is where inspiration is located. That is where courage is located. Fear is located in the bottom. We will discuss that when we talk about the chakras. Hope, courage, located here. Courage is not something that you can learn from another person or from a book. It's a characteristic of people who have some activity in the crown chakra. Deeper level of purity, Shaucha, is the way you interact with people. We very often say and do things that we are not direct. We have a way of telling people something without actually using the words. Hidden messages, being manipulative, or scolding without scolding, humiliating without humiliating. That is why I don't want to work in a company or an office, because it's full of those kind of behaviors, full of those kind of power games, where people are very devious and manipulative. I'm too sensitive for that. Can't accept that kind of environment. Purity is not to go along with that. Sometimes I observe myself in the stages in which I react to somebody saying something unfriendly. The first reaction is, of course, anger. And the urge or the tendency to say something unpleasant in return. But I keep that inside. And I observe. And I try to understand what's going on. The interaction, but also, why is that person being unpleasant or insulting? And I notice I always end up saying something back constructive that takes the pinch out of that person's need to be unfriendly and have a constructive conversation afterwards. The normal reaction is tit for tat. And it gives me sleepless nights to have such kind of confrontation. So you must pay attention. Purity is not to go along with that. Many people will say, yes, but that person was nasty to me, so I should be nasty back. Okay, if you want to live with that kind of restlessness, turmoil, and constant conflict, there will be a day that you wake up and you realize there is another way. And it not only benefits you, it benefits that person too. So ask yourself, what is my motive? Before you do something, before you say something. That's not easy, but it will come more and more natural to you as a result of your meditation. When you close your eyes, everything becomes clear. All the things that you can't see in normal daily life situations, suddenly you start to see. It's very interesting. But try to practice. Doesn't have to be every day or twice a day, but try to practice. Every minute that you invest is a benefit, is a gain. And obviously, the more we practice, the more we gain. It's as simple as that. If you're very busy, try to fit it in early in the morning before you start your day, or at the end of the day, when you wind down. If you want to practice asana and meditation, but you don't have much time, do some asana in the morning and some meditation in the evening. You can separate it. Later, because you're on this path, you will, throughout the years to come, work towards a situation that you have more time for yourself. That can take 5 years, can take 10 years, can take 20 years, but you will get there. Page 1, I mentioned something about, no, it's page, page 2. Next to the donkey, there's flying in the air. It's about letting go of negative emotions. This is a theme that will come back regularly in this course. Anger, malice, hatred, jealousy also. Let go of those emotions. They poison you. They poison us. Emotions should not be oppressed, though. The impression may occur that when we talk about letting go of anger, malice, hatred, regret, sorrow, guilt, the impression may occur that we should oppress them or ignore them. That's not the case. But people who carry a grudge, people who are angry, they usually drown in that emotion. And they keep that emotion, sometimes for years. And it very badly affects your energy household, your condition, your mood, your happiness. So what if we should not ignore or suppress emotions, such negative emotions, then how should we deal with that? First of all, understand that they have a very important function in a human's life. What function? An alarm function. Anger, hatred, all the negative emotions. They have only one function, not to make your life miserable. That we do that ourselves by identifying with the emotion. But they have one function, and that is to give us a signal. Emotions tell us that something is wrong, or something went wrong. So, of course, first you are hit with the emotion, and you feel sad or angry or bad or want to retaliate, revenge. Normal people stay stuck in that emotion, that sentiment. We take a step back and we say, what's going on here? Why am I feeling this emotion? And you will find out that there is a process going on. Cause and effect, something led to that situation. It's easier said than done because emotions have a tendency to drown people. Even we have a pride in our emotion. It's my emotion. And I have every right to be pissed off. I have every right to be angry or to hate you because you did wrong to me. No. Try to figure out what caused it. That is how you grow and develop. Later we will talk about the power of forgiving, because that is something we need to learn also to deal with emotions that involve other people. But we will come to that. Why is this purity? Holding on to emotions is very destructive. Trying to learn something from it, which is what they are designed to, is very constructive. So it's impure to hold on to those emotions. It's even harmful to yourself and the people that are involved. It shows maturity if you are able to take a step back and simply try to put the pieces of the puzzle together and heal. Heal the situation, heal yourself and the person involved. That takes a big heart, which you will develop as a result of your yoga practice. Questions? When I started practicing yoga, I got rid of my TV. Several years I didn't have a TV because it sucked my energy out. It made me disconnected while I started becoming connected. I needed to get rid of it. Instead, I started writing, reading books, and practicing yoga before sleep. Years later, I got a TV again, but my behavior changed completely. I became very selective in watching. I watch the news. I want to keep my finger on the tap, or how do you say? I want to know what's happening in society and around the world. When you understand that, things start making sense. But also, I like to observe people, people's behavior, humanity. And the news is one of the best programs on TV where you actually see that in daily life practice, where people are not acting. Now, other thing, of course, is I still have a passion for martial arts, so I do watch UFC, which in Korea is for free. In other countries, you have to pay for the app to watch. I don't know how they did that. And documentaries, real life stories and informative scientific programs I like. For the rest, all rubbish, distractions, sucking out my energy. And then they invented Netflix. I don't know what to think of that. Yeah, I do know what to think of that. It's a blessing. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Questions? Okay, let's have a short break. Asana.